Hi, I'm Jeff Combs, and this is Scream Dreams.
Some fans think that, like, the more the better. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's not true.
Yeah.
There's a reason why things are cut. You know, there was a lot more graphic stuff with Barbara that they did not use.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Scream Dreams. I'm Barbara Crampton, and with me, as always, is Catherine Corcoran and James A. Janisse.
Yeah, thanks. Quick draw.
Our guest today is a frequent collaborator of mine. He is the Clyde to my Bonnie. He is the Fred Astaire to my Ginger Rogers. He is the Bert to my Ernie. We played enemies in Reanimator, friends in From Beyond, and a married couple in Stuart Gordon's Castle Freak. Please welcome one of my most favorite people and dearest humans, Jeffrey Combs!
Yeah. Oh, here it comes.
Yay! Oh, yay!
It's coming from beyond.
I'm lost.
Come on around. This is going to be your seat, my love.
Oh.
Okay.
You're going to sit here, so come around.
All right.
Oh, okay.
It's the first time we've had an actual entrance.
I know.
I was giving you the downstage. Okay, you made it. Oh,
Yes.
my God.
You made
Jeffrey, how long have we known each other?
Since the Plasticine era.
I mean,
don't
it's
know.
been almost 40 years.
84?
Yeah, 84.
So yeah, 40.
Next year is the 40th anniversary of Reanimator.
Gulp.
So,
That's
yeah, it's been
wild.
a long time.
40 years.
That's
40
crazy.
years.
Kind of holds up, though. that
It
movie.
does. Absolutely.
It
We
does.
just showed a friend of mine who had never seen it before, which is a couple of weeks ago. We were like, oh, you've never seen it? It was 2 a.m. He was hanging out at our house all day and he was going to leave. And we were like, no, wait. Let's watch Reanimator. Watched it at 2 a.m. It was the best.
Oh.
It
You
was
know,
awesome.
there's like no technical sort of thing that sort of gives it away, like big bad huge mobile phones or
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
even no computers, none of that stuff that
nothing
would
basic.
say, oh, cars.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says, oh, that's stuck in time. It's
It
kind of
exists in its own universe.
It's
Really
clever
nice.
that way, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Non-specific.
So that was our first collaboration together, and I just want to bring something up about that.
Uh-oh.
Because I feel like our characters were kind of enemies in the movie.
Oh, you were in my way.
I was in your way, but I've never asked you this before, and I kind of feel like when we were doing that movie, I'm not sure you knew what to make of me, and I always felt like maybe you didn't like me very much. And then I feel like over time, over our 40-year friendship and working together, and all the history that we have, I think that I've finally grown on you, and
Yeah.
I think that you love me now.
I do.
But I'm not. But I actually feel like
That's
I
not
didn't know.
true. Here's
it?
what's more true.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that that was the first movie that I ever had any length of time on. So it was like first day of school in a way. I had 3 weeks. I'd done a couple of days, done a lot of plays, but I've done like a couple of days on movies, or maybe a week on a movie, but not a good stretch like that. And so it was new territory for me. And also, maybe I was a little methody there. I mean,
Yeah.
Herbert didn't like anybody.
Right.
So I didn't, I was kind of,
Yeah, and me, I come in and I'm always trying to disarm everybody and break them down and make them love me. And I couldn't do it with you. Nothing was working. I was
well,
like, yeah.
I don't think it was anything that you were doing. I think it was maybe
Yeah.
just sort of my mindset, and this is a bit of an obstacle for me. So
Yeah,
maybe I'll
sure.
just play that,
Right. Well, you
But I
played it
wasn't doing it
on purpose.
consciously
No,
at all.
No.
And maybe I'm just a jerk.
No.
I don't think so at all.
No, but you played that part brilliantly, and I know that sometimes people identify you with that role so
Yeah.
much, and you've had so many other things that you've done, but Jeff, you just can't get away from this part.
Well, I don't want to get away from it.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I think one of the contributing factors to getting the role was that I was doing a play, and I was playing a role somewhat similar, arrogant person, but the play, he was damaged goods. It was all a facade, to cover his pain. And so all I had to do to play Herbert was just kind of like get rid of the vulnerability and just go hard on arrogant in your face, not caring. So, I was sort of already, it was almost like I had rehearsal before we had rehearsal, if that makes sense. I was already, so casting director saw me, Anthony Barnell, and said, you might be right for this. And I went, yeah, right, sure. Right. I'll believe that. And, got an audition, got a callback. Here we are.
When you went for the callback, was it just you and Stuart and Anthony, or who else was there?
No, the callback was, I remember Stuart being there, but I don't remember Stuart being there for my callback. It was for Brian.
Oh, really? Brian Usna, the producer.
Yeah, and they paired me up with David Gale. I don't know why they paired, but because that's how it happened to be cast. But I think there were other David Gales and other Herbert Wests there, although I don't remember being too aware of that.
That happened to me too. When I came in, I think you had already had the role, so maybe this was a few days later, a week later, because they brought Bruce and myself in, and we read with you.
Right.
And I've told this story before, but I have to tell it on our show. I felt like you were so good that I was hoping you'd get the part because I didn't know you had the part.
Were you already cast?
No, I wasn't cast either. I was brought in as a replacement.
I got
I didn't know that.
I got called back.
No, but when I read with you,
I got the part.
You had the part.
And then Stuart asked me, would I come in and read with couples?
I see.
Yes, because I remember there were other couples
so
there
I spent
too.
actually a half a day, 3/4 of a day, reading these pairings coming in. And it was kind of, part of me was like, geez, man, I'm using my juice for these auditions. It's going to be so old school by the time we shoot this
But
thing.
it wasn't, Jeff, because we then went on to rehearse for 3 weeks.
Well, that's
we rehearsed it like it was.
That's amazing.
That's the secret to the success of Reanimator. One of them.
Yeah.
Because we were like a band that had rehearsed. We didn't just, you imagine a band showing up and going, okay, what are we playing?
Yeah.
No. But in movies,
That's what you
it's
do.
precisely
happens,
what
I
you
know.
do.
Yeah.
It's horrific. It's awful.
It kind of is. I don't like that either. I wish we would rehearse more often.
It
Money.
never happens anymore,
It's
right?
just
money.
Because of
Well,
money.
it's interesting because we had Charlie Band on, and obviously that, Reanimator was one of their films. And
He was the distributor.
distributor.
he distributed.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Because Lloyd Kaufman does the same thing. He rehearses for 3 weeks before he films, and that's because maybe it's for you guys. He was shooting on. He was used to shooting on film prior to his more recent stuff, and so every take cost money.
Yep.
Right.
So if you rehearse,
Saves you money.
yeah.
Well, whether it's film, it costs more if it's film, but whether it's film or it's digital,
It's time.
it's time.
Yeah.
Time is money. And so they rationalize this away, and unions are involved here too.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When you do a play, it's usually a 9-week run, 4 weeks of rehearsal, 5 weeks of performance. You get paid the same amount of money, whether it's a rehearsal or a performance, because they know the value that rehearsals, you can't do a play like that.
Yeah.
But apparently you can do a movie that way. And it doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't really, that's why I think so many movies are so sort of not fully realized. They didn't get the kinks out,
I see a lot of, first edits, second, third edits, and I see where they can dial in a performance or what the scene's about with editing. But to your point, I feel like we should rehearse more. And I've said this to other people, and I probably shouldn't say it out loud, but I would rehearse for nothing. Just with my, and Jeff.
And we did.
But because.
And we did.
Yeah.
Well, we did, But back then we didn't know to ask for money.
Well, we
I
were
don't
all
think.
were you
fair.
both?
We were all fairly.
Under 30.
Well, I was 31.
You were 31.
Bruce and I were 31 years old.
I
When we
must have been like
That's
26
awesome.
then. Yeah. And we were playing college students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we looked
Yeah.
younger than our age, which was really
You
great
still look
we
like college students.
we
I'm
had
not
the
trying-
experience, but
Yeah.
to bring to it.
But back to the rehearsal thing just for a minute, I loved rehearsing with all you guys. We had all come from a theater background, and I hadn't had that many roles myself. I think I did Body Double, and then I think I did this movie, and that was it. So what did I know? I did a soap opera. I did Days of Our Lives for a year. That's all I had done on camera. And suddenly we were rehearsing, and I was like, this is amazing. I really like this.
Well,
And-
this is Stuart's doing. Stuart
Yeah.
from the theater was artistic director of his own theater, Organic Theater in Chicago. Rehearsal was like, you can't do anything without rehearsals. He knew that. And he just
Yeah.
brought that sensibility into movies.
Yeah,
And I'm sure they said, oh, well, Stuart, you can't direct. And he goes, really? Well,
I'm just
I'll
doing
talk to
it."
the actors and we'll
Yeah.
be fine.
But I would do that today, even though they say, like SAG says we're supposed to get paid for that. Come over. If
Yeah.
I can't rehearse with the director or whatever, I don't know, just come over with the actors and we'll run the scenes or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
We've all worked with our friends Chrissy Fox and Spider One, and
Yeah.
because we're friends when we're making stuff, I like ask to sit down with them, and be like, can I work this through with you guys because you're my friends?
I've also had actors who go, hey, let's
Yeah.
run this. And they
Yeah.
go, I'd prefer not to. And I'm like,
What?
Oh yeah, a lot of times. Well, a lot of times
Really?
people don't even know that when you're working today. I'm sure you all have experienced this. Some of the actors don't know their lines that morning when they come in.
Yeah.
That annoys me so much. You don't know your lines, so you want to run it with me 40 times so you can learn your lines.
that's exactly
with me.
what you are.
Right?
You're just the warm up for.
Yeah.
for
Like I know my lines and I know your lines, by the way. So,
I mean, I just did a job though where I got the script, I got the offer, and I had to be there within 24 hours. So
yeah, you replaced somebody recently in the movie.
Yeah, so I needed to run it with them in the morning. So I
Yeah.
didn't know day to day.
Well,
Like I was
okay.
learning
That's
on the go.
happened to me, too.
Like,
That's
but
happened
then
to me,
they were
too.
really
Yeah.
wonderful. I mean, I knew it, but they were like, I was like, I need to figure this out. I need to figure out your rhythms. Like you guys have already had a couple days
Yeah.
together, so I needed that, and they were really great. Like in the makeup chair.
But
every
that's
day
an
with me.
anomaly. That's not,
Yeah.
you
But coming into movies, I was really surprised when I first started. You'd get a guest star on some forgettable TV show, and you'd have a scene with the lead actor, and they'd look down at their sides or whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. And I go, well, wow. I mean, you can't do that in the theater. You can't.
Yeah.
It's sacrosanct. Someone
Yeah.
worked
The
very, very
words,
hard to say to coin that dialogue, and you're throwing it out because your first priority, I think, and we certainly did with Reanimator, is make this work.
make this
Respect
work well.
this and make it
Yeah.
work.
Well, that's what Stuart, because I was guilty of that, I'll say. With Stuart, I would say things to him like, I don't really want to say it like that, or I don't want to say that. And he would say, no, you can do it, Barbara. You can say it like that. You can do that. And I would be like, I don't know, it feels kind of not good to me. He'd say, no, you can do it. And he would force me into,
Right.
having reverence for the material and just doing it as it was.
I think it's about finding the balance and knowing who you're working
Yeah.
with. Some directors really encourage play and improvisation, and some
Right.
do not. Some do
Right.
not at all.
We did that on Your Next because
Yeah.
Simon Barrett, who wrote that script on Your Next, would come up to me and say, do you like what you're saying in this scene? And those were all the mumblecore people. We've talked about this before. Because if you don't like what you're saying, you can say something else. And I went, hamina. Like nobody's ever said that to me before. And all those people were like riffing and being very loose.
Yeah, improv is another level of.
Have you had roles like that, Jeffrey?
I don't. Not really. Maybe there have been times when I had to sort of do some filler and make up some stuff. I think of frighteners when I had to talk gibberish and that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's not really written down, but
You're more by the book kind of guy.
I kind of am. I just kind of figure the writer should know, has put in a lot of brain juice to get this, and then I'm going to come along and say, I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
Why do you think it shifted away from like the rehearsal process and to just this kind of on the fly?
I think it's money.
Yeah.
You can't. There's no space for rehearse.
Yeah.
Because it costs money. You know, you get on a set and it's like, first AD's going, let's go. We're behind. You know, for someone to say, well, let's have all the actors. All it is in movies is blocking. Where are you going to move? And when are you going to move? And where you are? And that's where the camera will be. And it's not about the meat of the scene, like what people are saying almost. And it just costs, everybody starts tapping their foot like, we got to hurry up. We got a day to make, and it's a shame. But we did it right. We did it way before. So we just walk in and go, oh, that scene. Here we go.
Right.
Yeah.
I really felt the difference with doing it that way. And I kind of, because I was a new actor, thought, oh, maybe everybody does this all the time. And then it never really happened again. But did we do that on From Beyond? Did we rehearse we were there in Italy. So I don't remember
We're
us.
like, no, we just had a good time.
I'm sure that
we shot for a lot of days, though. We had longer.
I'm sure that we worked ourselves.
We worked our scenes, but yeah, we didn't have like a rehearsal for a couple
My only
weeks or
vivid
anything.
thing is the very first scene that we shot, which was the one where you're making breakfast and eggs and whatever. And Stuart
With Bubba.
Stewart wanted, it was a 3-page scene, and he goes, "Okay, Jeff, we're set up for your close-up. I just want the second line and then the last line, and that's all we're going to shoot." And I'm going, "What are you doing? I mean,
That's hard.
you want to cut
Well,
to
we
me listening?"
didn't do that.
No, it's because the access point, you need like sometimes.
No, because explain, Jeff, because
Well,
I know this story.
Stewart had gotten it in his mind. He'd read Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
And Alfred Hitchcock said, my first movie was taken away from me in the editing room. I shot it, and then they went in there and they cut it in a way that was not my vision.
Right.
So I vowed that I would never shoot anything
No coverage.
so that it could be cut only one way. And Stewart,
So
inexplicably.
maybe he didn't want a master then. So he didn't want to. So those two lines that were close up. Okay, we're just going to shoot that close up, and then you don't get to say that in a master. That was crazy to
Whoa,
us.
that is
No,
great.
What? You
that's-
can't do that.
Storyboard it. It was like,
also-
these are the shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Goodbye
act
any
like that?
reaction you might have to somebody else saying something.
Authentically.
You know, the editor might want to cut to you going, I don't know, something like that. But
75% of
what
it.
if you're just getting me there and there? You don't have it. The editor
Yeah.
doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So he quickly jettisoned that idea when he
good.
realized.
No, because we were all like,
we
no,
were just like, wait, are you kidding?
that doesn't help the actors. I'm not
That
at all.
doesn't
Yeah.
help any of us.
Yeah.
I always feel like the wide is like the theater performance in a way. It's like you're figuring it out and then the close-ups are the
Well,
punching
you
of those
also,
nuances.
you better remember what you figured out because
Yeah, exactly.
if the pencil was in this hand and then when it gets to you, it's
Yeah.
in this hand,
You messed the whole thing up.
That's why a lot of people today, they don't have money for script supervisors.
No,
so,
I noticed that job goes away sometimes.
Yeah.
I go,
That's one of the first things to go.
I know.
Yeah, the person on
you're
set who's, like,
stupid.
Yeah.
keeping track of
Keeping
that.
track of
Stupid, because then
everything.
the editor goes, I can't use that great close-up. Why? Well, because, they had a glass in the wrong hand. And so I can't cut in. It's like,
Yeah.
this is
So-
why that job was
Right.
created in the
Yeah.
first place.
So as an actor, it makes our job harder today because we have less time and we can't do as many takes and there's no script
And there's
supervisor.
nobody to say, hey,
and so
by the
you
way-
have to think about, what am I doing in the scene? I want to be authentic.
Yeah.
And also, what did I do when?
Yeah.
When did I put my hand up like
Yeah.
that? I don't remember what
I do wonder,
but
like-
someone would have written that down and said, you put it in right after you said, go get the milk.
Yeah.
It is,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like, well, we've talked about this so many times in the show, but it's this weird. It comes down to this weird kind of disparity we have right now, where there's like micro budgets and Marvel budgets, and there's no middle ground.
No.
Like, what was the budget like for Reanimator and From Beyond? If you don't,
I
if
think
you
it
I
was
would say
700,000 for Reanimator.
Maybe a little
Oh
more
my
than
gosh.
that. Maybe a
But,
million.
but back then that was a lot of money.
That was-
right?
what would that equate to? Like,
Was that like a
Probably
5 million? or
3 million?
Okay.
right. So like
Yeah.
the difference like between like a $1 million movie and a $3 million movie allows for the time to have and the departments to have a script supervisor to maybe add a day or two where you can like figure all these things out.
Well, this big squeeze happens because, you all know you make a movie and you made it for this amount of money, and then when you go to sell it, they want
They
Yeah.
want to give you just a little bit more, or not even that.
not
I mean,
even
sometimes you
that,
sell it for less.
and
It's a
so
problem.
the big squeeze.
Yeah, it's a-
Yeah.
It's kind of
But there's so much product out there now, and that's why too. If you have an overabundance of TVs,
Yeah.
TVs become cheaper.
Yeah,
There's a
that's
lot of
true.
movies out there.
Yeah,
So
it's infinite content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there used to be this like really nice like $5 to $8 million
Yeah.
kind of picture that would happen. And a lot of people would cut their teeth on them, and they would have a nice theatrical. And the problem was a lot of those were like comedies, which don't really do well internationally. But like for genre, I feel like
Well, it might be
there's an
coming
argument
back.
to be said because genre does so well internationally.
I know, but I think it's coming back.
I've always said, like, okay, you have $100 million budget for a movie, a studio. They greenlight $100 million. What if they greenlit $10 million?
right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
You
like an
know, like one of them or two of them is going to make that a
Right.
good plan, but they don't do that.
I know.
They put all the money on red, and $100 million, and then it kind of like fizzles.
I can't
Whoa,
wrap
you
my
are
head around
really
why that is. It makes no sense to me at all.
They just want the big returns, I think.
But like you're banking that it will. I mean, look at what's happened with with superhero films. I mean,
Yeah, but then you get a Deadpool,
Wolverine. I
and
know,
It's
but it's
back
like,
in the.
but-
We're back in the business,
Right,
baby.
But again, like how much money have we lost in like leading up into this point? It's like if you had to his point, if you had $10 million
Yeah.
movies,
I don't think you reach those insane profit margins.
Well, I
Yeah.
think
There's
what
something
happens is taking a chance, being brave, rolling the dice with 10 at 10 million, as opposed to the 100 million one is like gotta be a sure thing, right?
Yeah.
All the bells and whistles, and it's good to go.
And everybody signs off on that.
And everybody says yeah. And then how many times do those movies not make their money back?
Yeah.
Whereas, so creativity and uniqueness is jettisoned.
Well, that's
'Cause
why I've been
some
saying,
of those movies for $10 million are going to be
Yeah.
far more beautiful than $10 million. They're going to be probably a classic made out of there, and it'll never see the light of day. It's like I think about when Westerns were the big thing in the 50s and the 60s. You couldn't get away from it. TV, films, it was just odors. It's just cowboy. It's like, think of all the movies that weren't made because of all
Westerns.
of those Westerns.
Yeah.
Some of them great. Most of them, not so much.
you see-
Well, I think there's a boom though in genre right now with lower budget movies that are killing it, with reviews and on the film fest circuit, and When Evil Lurks and In a Violent Nature.
Long
that
Legs
was
just
just
did great.
Long Legs. I mean,
what was the budget on Long Legs?
that was probably higher because it was Nicolas
Now,
Cage. But
Yeah.
how many of these movies that you're touting here were like crowdfunded as opposed to?
I don't think any
Those
of them
ones I
were
don't
crowd-
think so.
No,
No.
none
Yeah.
of those were crowdfunded.
No.
No, but I don't know what In a Violent Nature was made for, but I know the people that made it, and
Yes.
it was low.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
low. And it was so cool and so creative. They just got greenlit for another one, and it's
Yeah.
going to be a bigger budget.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with Terrifier.
Yeah, I
that
mean-
was a small budget movie. It did really well, and then it kept
just
growing.
yeah,
I mean, did that happen with Reanimator too? Did Bride of Reanimator
Yeah.
have a bigger budget? And
Well, From Beyond
Well,
had a
this
bigger
is-
budget.
This is a little.
Okay.
That's another story.
It's a
but-
whole other story.
But From Beyond had that you could tell that story, but After
led to From
Reanimator,
Beyond.
we did From Beyond after
we did
that,
From
a year
Beyond,
later.
and that was a much bigger
5
budget.
million.
Yes, yeah, and it
Wait,
shows.
wait.
Huge
Day.
special effects.
So you went from
teams.
700,000 to 5 million.
Yes.
And 5 million at that time would have been the
I don't know.
Well,
Do the math at home.
At
That was
home.
Ken Foray's underwear budget.
well,
It was a leopard print.
Yeah.
that's what I've always said. No, I think it was that also you have to realize it was being shot in Italy, where the dollar stretched a lot farther.
Yeah.
Because it was the lira, and that was
Yeah.
you could get a lot
Yeah,
for
it was
your
like
dollar.
$1, and then it was you'd get 3 lira out of that or something at
No,
that time, right?
you get like
wasn't it?
1,200 lira out of a dollar. I mean, yeah, you just
Well,
get
I don't
like-
know. No, I know a lira is worth nothing, but I mean, equivalent dollars, like 1 to 3.
Well, I
Oh,
don't
like
think the
purchasing
crews
power.
were paid like crews would be paid here,
Yeah.
I'm sure they weren't, I'm not sure, but like they weren't union probably.
yeah. Did you
That was
have
Empire as well, right? From
that?
Beyond?
That was Empire.
Or wait,
funded
I'm sorry.
that.
Were they okay? Yeah. So
Yes.
Yeah, it was Empire.
After they distributed it. But we're talking like nitty gritty about making movies and whatever. But also, I just want you to tell the fans how you felt about making From Beyond.
How I felt about it? Well, I'll tell you,
Did you
Barbara.
like your character? I kind of know the answer.
You do
it's
know
a leading
the answer.
question.
You're
It's okay.
leading me on.
That's
That's
we
what
have the
I'll say,
inside scoop.
Barbara. Recently, I had a retrospective of
Yes.
my
Oh
career.
my God, I know.
Okay.
How'd that go?
Well, it was humbling and enriching and confusing.
Was that in
and-
Pennsylvania?
Yes, it
Why
was
was it
in
confusing?
Phoenixville, in Pennsylvania, in the theater that the original Blob was shot in.
Oh, cool.
Beautiful
Really?
theater.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really tasty. But I sat and I watched From Beyond. I watched it with my daughter. I just kind of went, okay. I'm gonna
Oh,
watch
she came
this
with
movie.
you for the weekend?
And I was much more, I enjoyed it much more because a lot of the trauma of that makeup that I had to wear, I don't know,
You didn't
over
like
and
that.
over and over. No, I didn't like it. I thought it was just hindering and uncomfortable and psychologically not so fun to look at your, I couldn't eat with the cast or the crew. I just grab my stuff and go to my room because they would be, I'd ruin their appetite.
Yeah.
So so for those reasons, also all my tools were kind of taken away from me in From Beyond. I was.
Because you're in makeup for most of that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. There comes a point where that's all I am.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the driving narrative. I was the victim. I was basically Dan Kane. Herbert, you can't stop. We can't do it. I don't want to do it. I was the resistor. You were the driving force.
Yeah.
So we'd kind of flip roles.
And I don't think you realized how that was going to feel to you until we got over there.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah.
It's probably true. I just thought, another movie, and then I went, oh wait, this isn't quite so.
But tell us, you're sitting there with your daughter,
Yes.
Catherine. She came with you.
Yes.
And you're watching the movie. And what was the experience watching it now?
Well, I thought it was beautifully shot. I kept marveling at how beautifully Mac Ahlberg had created a palette of color to truly sort of bring to life Lovecraft.
Yeah.
His mythos. It just seemed like any other movie I've ever seen about Lovecraft. It is the most accurate to this surreal kind of otherworldly quality that he has.
Cosmos, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had enough time had gone by where I kind of just appreciated the movie. You're terrific in it. I think that ending where you've just lost your mind with your laughing at the end is the absolute opposite of the end of Reanimator.
And it was unplanned in From Beyond.
Really?
I was supposed to jump out the window and, I got my leg broken and it was
Not
horrible.
really, the
Huh?
character.
Well, Yes.
They were actually breaking bones. On the snow.
You know, but in the scene. my
And did
legs-
Stewart say do that or?
No, I don't know. Something came over me and I just started, I started crying.
Well, it's
kind
a
of
great
screaming,
button. It's
and then
a great
laughing.
button.
And then I was like, going crazy because but actually it was a button from you because your character had kind of lost his mind as well.
Right.
And I thought, well, I should lose my mind. So, but it happened in the moment. I didn't think about it. So it's one of those nice moments where something happens and you go, okay, that works.
Yeah. So, you know.
I'm glad you liked it more watching it. And what did Catherine think, your daughter?
Oh, she really liked it. She sat
she
there
never
and
seen
watched
it?
a lot of the movies. Some of them she'd never seen. It was kind of an eclectic mix. It wasn't all horror or anything. Mostly, I'd say, because I've done mostly that. But like, you know, seeing a 11 of 45, for instance, was a real sort of treat for her and me. It's like, what a departure. This is-
Right. And what else did they show?
Yeah, I was actually going to
Yeah.
ask, like, was part of it, Would You Rather? Because that's one of my favorite roles that you've done.
Well, I wanted Would You Rather to be a part of it.
I think you are so incredible in that movie, and you are the only actor who could make that character work.
And he got that at the last minute, right?
I did.
That was the last minute one?
How long did you have before you had to step into that role?
It's a good question. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
It wasn't
a matter
like
of days.
right away. No, someone else who shall remain nameless
We'll speak after the show.
had the role, and everything was negotiated, signed on the dotted line, and then they had a meeting or a long telephone call with the director and proceeded to say, you know, I think we ought to rewrite the script and we ought to have this over here and this, and I want to have a scene where I do this. And the director's going, well hey, time out. I like the script. I wrote this.
And they were just a few weeks before
we co-wrote this script, and with a writer, and we're starting, and we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I guess the person was like, well, it's like, it's unheard of to like get that far in and then start throwing out, I want to do this, that, and the other. So they said, let's just cease and desist right now, and
I
good
agree
luck.
with you, though. But it wasn't part of the show, the program, for the retrospective. Would you rather?
Well, they couldn't, you know, what they like to do is ask permission for these, you know, and they primarily wanted 35 millimeter. They really wanted to do it that way, and a lot of them were. Some of them were just digital transfers. Because, you know, in this day and age, oh yeah, we don't have that movie on. We never did have that movie on 35 millimeter. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And to make a print of it is, you know.
Including Would You Rather, I don't think ever had a theatrical, a print.
Yeah.
Let's
He
put
is
it that
good
way.
in that movie, though. Isn't he?
It's
So it was a surprise to me
nasty
when they finally had the list that Would You Rather wasn't on there, and they went, well, we just couldn't get it. They wouldn't. I think IFC owns it. Whoever, I don't know. They just said like no.
I would have called up IFC. I know those people.
I know. We know them.
It's just kind of a
It
weird
wouldn't have
thing.
happened, yeah.
So it was like, I'm trying to remember. The first night was Reanimator, Castle Freak,
I love
Oh,
Castle
great.
Freak.
Yeah.
and
original.
The Black Cat, Masters of Horror, The Black Cat. Not
Okay.
particularly a movie, but very filmic. In fact, the last time I ever shot on film was The Black Cat.
Wow.
So it's gorgeous. And so that was that night. And then the next day it was like, Bride of Reanimator, Fortress, From Beyond, Dr. Mordred, Love on a 45.
And The Frighteners, was that in there?
And The Frighteners.
Yeah.
And I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm sure they played.
They
right?
did not play.
They
I
didn't.
didn't have a big
Really?
enough role. And
Yeah, I
still
know.
do know.
Of what they did play, what they didn't play, what is the role that you're most proud of? You have such a breadth of work. What is the role that you think you're most proud of?
I don't have a single one, but there's probably half a dozen that I go, well, that's a pretty good little spectrum of versatility
what are those?
there. Well, the obvious ones, Reanimator, for Frighteners.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty good in Castle Freak.
Yeah, I would
good.
put that up there. Right? Yeah.
Love in a 45 was a bit of a joy for me. I am a supporting role in it, but it's about as close as I'll ever get to being in a Tarantino-ish movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's very Tarantino, very sassy, and a great cast. A lot of really good character actors just rolling through that thing, and I'm not too bad in it.
Yeah, you're great in everything, Jeffrey.
But I think it's also like knowing Barbara and I were talking about this yesterday. Skeet Ulrich said this to me, and it really resonated. He said, you're not a film is an orchestra, right? And it's a piece of music, and you're not always the violin solo.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But if everybody's the violin solo, the piece doesn't work. And sometimes that bass line is the line that drives the piece, even though it's not the front and center.
I've said this about
Yeah.
our dear friend Bruce Abbott in Reanimator. He does not get
enough credit for that
enough
role.
credit and praise. That is
I agree.
the hardest role
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
You have to like that guy.
Yeah.
You have to.
I fell in love with him. I told him that. Did you know this?
Yes.
That I had a crush on him during the
Yes.
movie because he was so dear and so believable and so charming and lovable. Like I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was married to Linda Hamilton, and I was like, oh, he's so cute. Oh my God, I really like him. But I would have never done anything. And
And Jeff, you know that a lot of people nowadays ship you two, your characters. They insinuate that there is a romantic,
like a love relationship
Yes,
between
yes.
you
this
and
is-
Dan Kane.
And I firmly believe this is whatever sort of wishful thinking they may have,
Yeah.
but it was not anything either of us played
Oh,
for
I'm sure
a
it wasn't
nanosecond.
discussed.
You didn't
or
think of it at
anything.
the time at
Not
all.
at all.
But
I
when you
wonder-
watch it, can
yeah.
you kind of see that reading of
Well,
it?
I can see that it would be open for someone who wanted to interpret it that way. But it, really, all it is I am relentless in my pursuit of work, and I need him.
Yeah.
And you're an annoyance. Get out of here. You're stopping us from doing great things, right?
Together.
So, I've had people sort of point that out, and it's way after the fact. It's just really
You
not.
don't think there's a possibility in another universe?
Yeah, fourth Reanimator, bring him back.
For what purpose?
For the love narrative. It's a romance.
No, there's a
bromance.
scene in Bride of Reanimator where he's in bed with Fabiano Udenio,
Yes.
who went on to Yeah, baby. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
She was was it Ivana Shagme?
Yeah,
Something like that.
something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, yeah, that was the character.
She's one of those characters.
So Herbert West goes upstairs and watches them for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't out of perversity, or it was about, for me, I always liked that little thing because it was kind of like he's trying to understand this kind of intimacy thing. Like Herbert doesn't get it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't.
What's the point?
What are you're wasting time here.
Yeah.
It was the way I always played it. All of this is keeping us from doing what we should be doing. Stop it.
Has there ever been any discussion of another Reanimator, or is it?
know, a
Are we too
reboot.
far
Well, we
past
talked to Brian Usna owns the rights.
Okay.
So I talk to him all the time, like, when are we going to reboot this? And he has talked to many people at different studios. And what happens with a hot property like this is they spend the money on it. They want all the rights.
Yeah. So if we make a sequel and we sign right here, and any other further sequels, we get it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because if they're going to put the money on,
and then they can do whatever they
And
want.
then
with
they
it.
can do whatever they want, and
Yeah.
Brian has no leverage anymore. It's not his
Yeah.
property anymore.
that's why it's hard to
see what
get
I mean?
these things.
So he doesn't want to.
remade,
He doesn't want to do that.
If there were a world where he was able to make it the way he wanted to, and without that kind of barrier, would you be interested in returning to the role? Would you be open to it?
Well, would this be Herbert West in the assisted living, reanimating
You
old
listen.
people?
You still look spry as ever. I don't think anyone would.
You still got it, Jeff.
I agree. And I think the best reboots just expand on the universe that's
Well, it's
already
not a reboot.
established.
A reboot would be
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would be a
It would be a-
requel, maybe,
a requel,
or
yeah.
it depends on if you want to follow beyond.
Well, if
Yes.
you notice, there's a lot of time between the Reanimator sequels.
Yeah, especially between Bride and Beyond.
because of
Big
the
gap.
legal issues right after Reanimator that put it all in court for a while. Brian didn't get the rights back. He didn't get, he had to resolve all of that
Yeah.
before he could continue. It was like, 5-6 years after Reanimator that we finally did Bride of Reanimator.
Right.
And then it was like another, 10 years before we did
Big gap.
Beyond
Yeah.
Reanimator.
Yeah.
So he was trying this whole time.
He's still trying as well. I know that he has something in the works, Reanimator related, but it's not a movie.
Oh.
Yeah, I know that too.
And, we've also pitched it around a couple times as a TV show, and he has two
so
separately. And, it just hasn't quite come together. I don't know why.
Well, there's a weird thing about Reanimator. How are you going to reboot Reanimator? Because it was put out at a time unrated, okay?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
Reanimator because it came out unrated. Well, no one's going to say, let's do it again and put it out unrated. They're not going to play that.
I don't know. There's certain networks take some risks. HBO just did full frontal male nudity. I was very
But that
impressed.
cat is out of the bag,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
not a
Cat is out of the
surprise
bag.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
You know what you're
Yeah, I
signing
mean, that
up
was one
for.
of the things. Reanimator was a pivotal movie for me in my formative learning about horror movies, and was always one of my favorites even as a kid. And that was one of the draws, was like, oh, there's this unrated version that has even more crazy shit in
Yeah.
it. And
Well, there should still be just an unrated version, but again,
that's-
Charlie Band.
Yeah.
We were off shooting From Beyond. And he realized he could make some more money if he made because Blockbuster and other huge franchises,
carry it,
they
right.
wouldn't carry anything unrated,
Yeah.
but they'd carry R-rated. So he
So you made it
he
R-rated.
went in and had it re-edited, took out all the bits that made it unrated, put back in stuff that we should have been, they were out.
Yeah.
Now they're
Yeah.
back in. It's not the same movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember people seeing that one and go, "Oh, I saw it. It was, it was okay." And I'm going, "What version did you see?"
Right.
Exactly.
Stewart's whole thing was that he wanted to shock people.
Yeah.
And that was the version I was showing all my friends
Yeah.
when we were young. And
Right.
But that's also kind of like the that's been such a interesting, if you look at the history of horror and genre and the mythos around it, that was always in the marketing around it. Even if you look at theatrical reruns and things, they would be like, "Oh, this is so shocking. See the unrated version." See, that was
it
always
was big on the
part of
DVD releases in the
Yeah.
early 2000s. They'd be
Yeah.
unrated version, it'd be 2 extra seconds.
Yeah.
Of something.
Yeah,
And there's
but
a
that would be
German-
the mythos and get people excited to watch it. Because be like, what did I,
Yeah.
what did I miss?
There's a German company that put out a tin, and they incorporated both versions into one long.
Oh, so they took all the stuff that was put back in for the rated R version, but then also kept
Yes.
all the unrated. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I was in San
those
Francisco
mashups.
and there was a screening, and let's go have. I know how long the movie is, and
Yeah.
we went
88 minutes.
Yeah,
the
it's
original.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It is a wonderful runtime.
Yeah, it's perfect.
86 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, it's time to get back. And we walked back in the theater, and it was like, what is this? They unknowingly just played that
Oh.
German compilation. It's like, oh, I guess you know better than the filmmakers, and you're just going to create a movie that was not intended to be created. How dare you?
Frankensteined it.
Well, some fans think that the more the better. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's not true.
Yeah.
There's a reason
That
why
things get cut.
things are cut. You know, there was a lot more graphic stuff with Barbara that they did not use. Brian told me that once. You know,
Really?
that there's
It just has
they
never
could have
seen the light of
hung
day?
on some stuff
Okay,
longer,
Oh, well, they
Yeah.
they weren't allowed to. I had it in my contract that
Yes,
it could
you
only
did.
be full frontal for 3 seconds.
Yes.
So if you count,
Wow.
1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000.
Even though that was like your first, you were saying that was like your first big role. You include that in the contract.
Yeah,
still?
but her agent was protecting her. And,
Okay.
And,
smart.
you know, you don't want to be exploited.
Yeah.
Well, actually, because the girl who had the role before me, her mother read the script and her mother said, "You're not
No
doing
way.
this part." So, you know, but everybody who knows me knows I'm not shy.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever. Oh, fine. But yeah, my agent said, well, they shouldn't
But still,
get
at
to
the
hang
same
on
time,
it. That was a really good thought from my agent
No,
at the
it
time.
really was.
Just
Set
They
limits.
protected you in a way that like a lot of even young actresses today are not protected. Look, a
Right.
lot of things that I didn't know when I was younger, and you know we have a similar trajectory, like doing nudity younger. I've learned now tricks from you, like that, like people. But I don't know. It's just not something that they teach you, and it should be a more open conversation about
they
how to
now
protect
have
yourself.
Coordinators.
Coordinators.
They do,
yeah.
but they're not like required on, especially these low budget sets. They're not, you know, they're just not there. We talk about like having the funds for that. They're just
Right.
not there.
Well, even on Jacob's Wife, like I had that scene with Larry Fessenden, and Larry and I were like, no, we're doing it ourselves. We'll choreograph it ourselves. That's what we told Travis, the director. We'll figure it out. We have a love-making scene, and we're like, we'll just do it ourselves. So we did that. But I want us to just say something else because this had come up for me recently when I was on the socials. And Jeff, we have to get Jeff on Instagram because he got. Okay, I have two thoughts in my head, but he got
you just
booted
don't
off.
have an Instagram?
He got booted off of Twitter, and I
love
keep
what a purist
Got
you
booted
are.
off of Twitter.
well, not booted
I
off.
got hacked.
He got hacked,
okay.
and then
Maybe
he couldn't
a
get
year
back
and a
on.
half ago, I 3 emails in a row. You know, your password was changed. Your your username was changed, and you know, it's kind of like what? And
Yeah.
you know,
So anyway,
Twitter X
Yeah.
utterly
he's
useless in helping me.
yeah, but he's not on that anymore. But you keep telling me and teasing me that you're going to come on Instagram so we can have chats.
My brain just doesn't think of like Instagram and post.
Pictures,
I just, you know.
We'll talk after the show. But what I was
She's
gonna,
working on
but what I
it.
was
She
going to
can't
say
paint
was I saw something on Twitter the other day, and I see this periodically, and it kind of annoys me. And people say, "Oh, when that headless guy went down on that girl." Well, guess what? He never got there. He never went down on me. He never got
And you know
there.
why?
Trying to go there.
And you know why?
Why?
Because I stopped him.
That's right.
That's right,
You're
man.
That's what turned Herbert
Yeah.
into a hero.
Yes.
That's true. Thank you for that so much.
Even though I think it was an inadvertent
I
save.
really must
But it's like
say,
people
you-
say that. Oh my God, that scene where that guy went down on you. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He was this far. Sorry.
He was
Microphone.
about ready
He
to.
was this
and-
far away from me, from that area. He never got there. Hello?
That annoys
Didn't-
me about Terrifier. People they always are like, oh, like, she's completely naked. Or when they're doing like the artwork or the merchandise, they put me completely naked. She has underpants on.
She does,
I
yeah.
fought for the underpants. I'm not kidding. I brought 2 pairs.
Yeah.
She
Well,
wears underpants.
You mentioned Would You Rather.
Yeah.
When people talk about Would You Rather, oh my God, the scene where he cuts the eye, and oh my God, when the
Completely
this-
off screen, yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
you don't see anything.
imagination.
People
in
call that movie torture porn, and
you don't see anything.
It's psychologically torture porn,
Yeah.
but as far as graphically, visually,
You
it's-
think you
don't
see more
anything.
than you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's cinema. Okay,
Uh-huh.
you
The suggestion. It's
the
Texas
suggestion
Chainsaw
is
Man.
so powerful. You're filling in the blank, but it's
Yeah.
not there. It's just not there.
yeah. It's weird what people will like decide, you know.
Yeah,
for their
just in
own-
their brain.
Yeah.
Another one that I love is Reanimator. They call it the cat scene. The cat scene,
The cat
where Bruce and Dan and Herbert are chasing the cat in the basement.
Yeah.
There's no cat.
You don't see that cat. No, it's just a light
Yeah.
swinging around, and
You're
you guys being like,
Herb, it's Mac Alberg swinging a light and with lighting and the sound effects. Guys being real specific about what we're seeing, but
Yeah.
there's no cat.
Yeah. Did you guys choreograph that scene yourself? You and Bruce did
Yes,
that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Bruce and I were a gift to have Bruce because we just kind of clicked into, we know what we're doing. And you were talking about music and an orchestra. I've used that analogy with like a band. Okay,
Yeah.
Herbert West gets to play lead guitar. Okay,
Yeah.
thrashes. Okay,
Thrashes.
can't do it without a great rhythm guitarist behind me. I can't. It won't. It's not gonna be elevated.
Yeah.
But he's there. He's there. He's the counterpoint, and no one sees that. We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to
Right.
highlight it whenever I talk about it because
Yeah.
he doesn't get enough credit.
No.
And he's a hunk.
I know. He's such a hunk. But actually, when that movie was made, and Stuart talked about this, that Bruce was the lead.
Yeah. Well, he's
But-
the first card.
Sure, yeah.
Starring
Yeah.
Bruce Abbott.
But your character and your personification of Herbert West was so compelling that you became the star of the movie. It's the truth.
Yeah.
The thing is that in the editing, they streamlined the story, and then the balance was just, there were a lot of scenes between the two. It was a movie about what are these two lovers going to do with everything that's happening to them, right? Yeah. That's what and it's still there. It was just kind of more, I won't say overly written, but it was more, they thought, you can tell by the credits, that would be it's the
Yeah.
lovers.
Well, you're the most interesting character to watch in the movie. I mean, I say that lovingly.
It's
magnetic.
it's a great role that was, everybody.
Not everyone could take that great
No,
role, though. And
no,
do what
that's
you did
right.
with
Yeah.
it.
It's-
Everybody loves the guy who will not compromise on anything, or the woman that kind of power, that kind of like, oh my God, I wouldn't have done that. Oh my God, I don't have the balls to do that. But Herbert doesn't care,
Yeah.
and everybody wants to be able to be Herbert West and like say what they want when they want, and.
I feel like that's a lot like how you are, though. Like, I love talking to you. You're such a like.
No, I'm
you
not
really
like
are.
that.
No, but I mean, like, you're such a like purist about the art form, and you have your thoughts on how it should be, and no one's going to dissuade you from that. And I love that. I mean, I love that you're not on social media. I wish I wasn't on social media.
No, I'm getting him on Instagram. Shut up. He's
Don't
going to do
encourage
it.
it.
He keeps telling me he will.
No, but
I'm just not that
I
interesting. I'm not that interesting. It takes up a lot of my time. I find myself spiraling down into it. And wow, it's been an hour. And when I
Yeah.
was on Twitter, I was like, wow, this is.
I was
doom
the
scroll,
healthiest and
yeah.
most creative when I took a break from social media, and I wasn't on it for a few months.
I'd rather play my guitar.
There's a couple things we need to talk about. You have a new movie, but also I want to talk about the fact, and I've teased this a little bit, but maybe not enough.
That we're in
Yeah.
something together.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to tell us about it, Jeff? We're in something together that we're
That
not
we
allowed
can't
to
talk about.
that
Yeah.
we can't announce.
So tell us about
So
it.
tell us about it,
not-
but don't say anything
Yeah.
at the same time.
All right, it's a fascinating project. I'm really looking forward to it. Finally getting out there. I haven't seen a single, but you have.
I have. I've seen
the
the
first
first episode. It's a new TV series, and I saw the first episode.
We all saw it, all three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then I saw a little more.
Oh,
You saw
you
more.
did.
Yeah.
And has a great vibe about it. It's a fascinating period of time based on a
89, I think.
Yeah.
based on a real thing that happened in this country, we play husband and wife, and it's a fairly short scene, but
Yeah.
you never know if there'll be
But-
another.
well-
they'll pick this up and do more.
I'm going to tell you guys right now. They said if they get a second season, that they'd potentially bring us back for more episodes. So when you
Yeah.
see this thing that shall not be named, please write in, talk about it, say, "Oh, how much we love Jeffrey and Barbara."
Bring them
Does
back.
that help? Does that really help?
I don't know.
I
Maybe.
think to an extent. I mean, I think we've seen it with other shows that have been brought back in the past. I think when the fans demand it, and if the demand is there and the money is there, the networks will make it happen.
I would also say that the head writer
yeah.
and producer of this project were fans of ours.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
If it's up to them.
and
you guys will be back.
went out of his way to incorporate us into his project we're very grateful for that because it's
And
like
it's nice to work with you again, Jeffrey.
it was nice to work with you.
I
too.
want to work with you more.
What
I
would
want
you
us to
guys
do
do?
more things
What would you
together.
guys do? Would you, if you could, would you revisit Reanimator? Would you guys want to do something else
She's
together?
dead.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Or just anything.
You never know.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this.
Yeah.
You never know what pops up. This project was like out of nowhere.
Out of the blue.
Yeah.
We got a call and we were like,
wanna
what?
what?
We got an offer for it and it was really kind of cool. And we have the same agent. So, well, this has been wonderful talking to you. So, we didn't ask about what scares him. We have to ask that question.
Yeah, you wanted to know about my.
What scares you? We're not done with you yet, Jeff.
It's okay. This is good because I sort of immediately had a kind of an answer for you.
Oh, okay, great.
It's a pivotal point of our show, and then we always forget to
Well,
ask
we've just been having a lovely
We
conversation.
have, yes.
When I was a kid, had a recurring nightmare. It wasn't like monsters. It wasn't things, a creature, or anything like that. I really haven't really been able to fully analyze what it all means. Of course, we're all afraid of like, oh God, the closet door is ajar, and I got to make sure nothing's in there, and then close it, or maybe there's something underneath the bed. We all have that.
Yeah.
This was more psycho trauma. The dream is, and I haven't had it in decades, but the dream is that I had it over and over when I was a kid. I am on a huge rock ball hurling. I know it's hurling, although I have no way of knowing that it's fast, but I know it's flying maybe 300 feet above a vast ocean. That is limitless. It's limitless. There's a horizon, there's sky and ocean and this rock. And I can't conceive in my dream how big that rock is. I just know it's big, really big. And I can't determine how fast we're going because the scale is just, I just know that this rock is hurling through
And
space.
you're sitting on the rock.
And I'm sitting on the rock. And the nightmare is the rock is going to explode right now. Actually, the rock is going to explode right now. Okay, in the next moment, this rock is going to explode. I'll be vaporized. Everything will be vaporized. I don't know what that means,
Wow.
Interesting.
but it's very elemental.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing gooey or scary or ghost. It's just this like.
You know who you need to talk
dread.
to about that?
Dee Wallace.
Dee Wallace, because Dee Wallace came on the show. You know, she has a company called Conscious Creation or something like that. And she analyzed all our dreams, and we all started crying because she got to our deepest fears and what things were about. I'm telling you,
I'll
know
talk to
her.
her.
You need to talk to her.
I'll talk to her. And sometimes in the dream, inexplicably, there's the huge rock, which I can't conceive how big it is. And then there's a smaller rock, like behind it, that I'm sitting on. So sometimes I'm on the big rock, and then a couple of times I was like on this little rock that I
See
can
the big
conceive
rock?
of how big, you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. It may have had something to do with the fact that I lived in a small town right next to the largest Air Force base on the West Coast, and I grew up with missiles and rockets
Yeah.
and the fear of the Cold War.
Yeah, Cold War for sure. That'll do
That
it.
I could go to bed and not be here, exist, just because, in my kid brain, I was like, okay, Cold War, huge Air Force base, nuclear weapons. I think they'd probably attack us here.
Yeah, sure.
Well, what I get, we usually ask it in terms of modern art today context, but we always ask what your nightlight is. And what we mean by that is like, what is the thing in the darkness that keeps you going, that keeps you knowing that everything's going to be okay? When you were afraid of those types of things as a kid, what was your nightlight? What kept you going?
Nightlight. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one.
Really? You don't know what keeps you going or what kept you going then?
I suppose what I do for a living, and entertainment and movies, and that box in the corner that I could watch, make believe, and sitting in the dark at the movie theater, and things were a lot more limited in the mid '60s. Cable was barely a thing. So you had maybe a few channels, and then you had to actually go to the theater, to a movie theater or the drive-in.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was a world that I wanted to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not that I could necessarily articulate that
No, I love that.
when I was a kid, but it was a better place.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. The escapism. Totally relate to that.
I don't
Nicole
think
Kidman
it's
said it's a place where dreams are realized.
I love Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Please don't ever take her from the theaters. I know they've been doing it lately. It makes me upset.
Yeah.
I look forward
I
to
like
it.
when she says it.
I
too.
know.
Well, this has been great to have you on, Jeff.
That's my nightmare. I hope I don't have it tonight now.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
now that we've
Oh,
talked
I know.
about
Because
it.
really, if I wake up,
But now you
there
know
was
what
no
the nightlight
sleeping
is.
anymore.
You know what the nightlight is. So
Yeah.
if you wake up, you can just go, but today, or tomorrow, I
I get to play.
Yeah.
And you
Exactly.
have two great things to look forward to: the show with me, and then your movie.
Right. And then the reviews. And then,
But those are always
Yeah,
fun.
we love you, Jeff.
well,
Everybody
I love you
loves
guys.
you.
Well, thank you very much. I love you guys too.
Oh, thanks.
And let's
Yeah.
hope that this thing that we're doing is going to be fruitful. There's so much content out there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
There's just almost like, you might say, too much content. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
It is.
You don't know where to begin, and it's really hard to focus on stuff anymore. So many different platforms, and well, you got to have that one to watch that, and you got to have that one. And it's like, wow, this is so onerous on us all. Why can't it be easier?
It's the tyranny of choice when you're like, what should we watch? Oh my God, anything. And that's why I think so many people go and watch Friends or The Office. They're like, oh, it's something I know, and so I'll just put that on.
Well, it's a comfort,
Exactly.
and
yeah.
it's not overwhelming. The decision is easy.
Yeah, pre-made.
Well, watch their new show so that we can see more of it when it comes out. Then
Yes.
we can talk about it.
Okay,
And there might be
we'll
someone
talk
else in
about
there
that.
too, just briefly.
Oh,
Very briefly, just a
maybe.
little
Who
bit.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might see somebody else in the
Who's
show. too.
someone else we know?
Yeah.
Anyway, until next time, thank you so much, Jeff. This has been truly such a pleasure. Thank you
Well,
so much for coming on the show.
It was painless.
It was good. We're glad. That's what we hope
I've been
for.
trying to get you for so long.
That's what we hope for.
Yeah, but I wanted to time it so that I actually had something to talk about.
You want to make sure
You
the
have
show was
so-
Okay,
successful
Jeff,
and professional
wanted
before
to
coming on
time
here.
it because something was coming out, and I said, Jeff, do you not think people are not going to want to have you come on and talk to me and us about everything? Come on.
You
Well,
have
here-
such
This is
a-
evergreen content.
Here's another thing about all of this, though. See, I'm old enough now that I'm like really bored with my own answers,
Sure. You've been giving them for so long.
and so interviews. It's just kind of like, you're going to ask me that, and then I'm going to say that, and
well, we try to be different.
I'm
Was
bored with
boring?
myself. is
Was it
what I-
boring?
Okay, but
We tried
I'm
to be
not bored
different.
with you.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not bored.
And
Well,
I don't
that's
think
good.
the fans are bored
They're not.
with you either.
Well, I hope not.
No, oh my
Never.
gosh. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. Seriously, this has been wonderful. You've
Well,
been
thank
absolutely lovely.
Well, thank you, Catherine.
If you liked this interview, if you like our channel, please like and subscribe. We're so close to hitting like these big milestones, and we can't quite get there. So just
Come on.
Oh,
please, yeah, Jeff said so.
Subscribe.
Jeff said so. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, subscribe to our Patreon, come to our live events. You're amazing. We love you all. I don't know what else. Until next time, I'm Catherine Oh, go ahead. Do
What?
it. I saw you ready to say
Ring
it.
the bell.
Thank you. Until next time, I'm Catherine Corcoran.
I'm Barbara Crampton.
And I'm James A. Janisse. Be sure to leave the light on.
Actually, I wasn't sure which camera was mine.
You're on the right.
Which right?
That one.
Okay, I was like looking up. Oh yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah, that one's more pointed.
Okay, I was
towards
like,
me.
where do I look?